And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lowdown podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin. You can hear it in my voice. I'm still recovering, but I am here today to answer the questions that you guys have from over the weekend. And boy, are they coming in the iTunes mailbag. Shouts to you guys for leaving those there. They really do help the show greatly. They are free for you to provide them there as well. So I greatly appreciate the your continued support in that way and in every way. Please do hit that subscribe button for those of you who are watching live on YouTube. If you guys are watching live on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge and hit the subscribe button there. If you guys are watching, or if you guys are listening, I guess, in the morning via podcast, please do hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your podcast, preferably on Odyssey. And today on the show, we are going to be talking about, no, we're going to be talking about the latest on the latest things that I'm hearing on the Lakers coaching front. We're going to be talking about the lack of news and what it might mean and what it might signal. And then we are also going to be talking about whatever you want to talk about. This would normally be a show that I'd be recording on Sunday that would be airing on Monday. As it is, we are recording on Monday for a show that is obviously airing live on Monday, but will air in podcast form on Tuesday. That is because of it was funny. Avery's last day of pre-K was last Friday. That was it. And then she goes off to kindergarten this upcoming summer. And I'm like, all right, we're in the clear. That's it. I have a few months. We're good. Nope. No, she brought back a doozy. My poor son was like he just felt like crap for a whole week. This is now about 5 days or so that I've been dealing with this. Jen has been dealing with it. The Irwin house has been going through it. So apologies for how I sound. Apologies for the delay on this episode. But without any further ado, let's jump on into the latest on the Lakers coaching search. The latest is the same thing that we were talking about the last time you guys heard from us. The last time you guys heard from us, it was Dan Wojcicki. He was on the show. He gave us over an hour of his time to talk about the difference in reporting on, depending on who you were listening to. Adrian Wojnarowski that day had said that the Lakers were going to take their time and that this was going to take place over the course of a week. When I had said that this felt imminent, I probably misspoke. What I should have said was that their decision felt imminent, and then what I've found out since is that essentially nothing can happen until JJ and ESPN kind of say that stuff can happen. So that's what basically it feels like everything is kind of waiting for. Shocking surprise notwithstanding, right? The Lakers back last week. We're getting ready to have in-person interviews with James Borrego. He has that interview coming with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So you would think that there would be an impetus there for the Lakers to potentially move quickly on him if they really, really believe in him, which they haven't. So that might be kind of telling there. And we're all just kind of waiting for Rob to text Woj that JJ is the guy, and whatever that looks like. So again, during this time, while the Lakers kind of wait for JJ Redick, they are going to be continuing to do their due diligence, not just on potential head coach candidates, just in case somebody shocks them. We also got word that Mike Brown and the Sacramento Kings agreed to terms on a contract. So that kind of pipe dream is now also out the window. So it's the same group of candidates that we have been discussing all along. And now the Lakers are trying to figure out what the assistant coaching staff might look like as well. For Sam Cassell, they're going to have very stiff competition. For one thing, because Charles Lee got hired by the Charlotte Hornets, the Boston Celtics would probably be promoting Sam Cassell. So that's a team that is in the finals, could be a championship winning team that Sam Cassell would potentially be the number 2 on that coaching staff next year. So that might be in and of itself a difficult proposition for the Lakers to outbid the Celtics for. We also know that the other teams that are hiring assistant coaches, I think it was reported that the Cleveland Cavaliers are trying to hire Sam Cassell away as an assistant coach. Or no, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks with Doc Rivers is trying to hire Sam Cassell away from the Celtics, and they're willing to make him the highest paid assistant coach in the league. So that is certainly something that the Lakers would have competition for as well. And so on and so forth. And basically every assistant coach that the Lakers are going to be bringing in, and this, I guess, is one of the benefits of hiring a rookie head coach, is that, with JJ Redick being a little cheaper than the other head coaches who have won championships, or is Mike Brown, JJ Redick will probably cost a little bit less. So that money, you would hope, would get reinvested back into the organization by way of assistant coaches to help JJ through this very daunting task of being a first-time coach, not just first-time head coach, but first-time coach in the NBA. Of the Los Angeles Lakers, with LeBron James, with Anthony Davis, with a fan base that is growing restless. All of those things, you would hope that the Lakers would be able to provide him the absolute best coaching staff that money can buy, and we'll see what that looks like eventually. But yeah, I would say that things quieting down is noteworthy, as we are now, I'm recording this on June 3rd. Happy birthday to my dad and to my mother-in-law. But I'm recording this on June 3rd. The finals start on June 6th. And I would imagine that we'll get some kind of leak or announcement either heading into the finals or right as the finals are getting going. And JJ will get his pats on the back and everybody will kind of move forward as such. I was really hoping that JJ would be hired this week during this gap so that we would at least have that to talk about and not all of this Caitlin Clark nonsense. But no, we are going to, it looks like this is going to be held off all the way up into, and potentially after, that'd be really dumb, but after the finals, and at which point JJ and the Lakers would hopefully hit the ground running and everybody can kind of move forward that way. But things quieting down, a part of it is because there's this lull in between the conference finals and the actual finals. But part of it, I think, also is that things are potentially getting a little bit more serious, and information is being held a little closer to the vest as decisions are getting made. And we'll just wait for the official update whenever it comes. Unless some miraculous or by some miraculous way, I'm able to break the news, which would be fun. It'd be really fun. I find it extremely unlikely, but it would be fun nonetheless. All right. I literally, I'm just going to get out of the way for the number of questions that we have, both from the iTunes mailbag and from Twitter, and obviously from the live audience here. So I'm going to start, as usual, with the iTunes mailbag, which again is the easiest way or the safest way to guarantee that your topic gets onto the show for free, especially. That is if you leave a 5-star review. Now I'm going to go back into here, and I believe the first one here comes from Big Pimpin'. This was written on last Tuesday. Considering the first years of the last 2 Lakers head coaching hires have led to a championship and a Western Conference Finals appearance, do you feel LeBron and AD will show up extra hard for whomever the new head coach is? Coughs in JJ Redick. So this is pretty typical of every head coaching hire. Like this is part of why Mike Brown's stint with the Lakers was so short, was because he showed up and almost everybody just kind of like rolled their eyes. Again, I think a lot of the problems with that team went way beyond Mike Brown. But if a coach shows up and doesn't get an immediate, like, everybody is pumped to play for this head coach, everybody is really bought into the message and the messaging from that head coach, things are really going to go south really quickly. So with whoever they hire here, and I think, for the purpose of this question, this is one of the things that I'm kind of excited about with JJ, is that you'll get that immediate buy-in, and so long as he proves or shows that he belongs there, by way of messaging, by way of X's and O's communication, by way of the staff that he hires, and all of those things. So long as he gets that initial buy-in, the hope here is, because he is somebody who LeBron, I would imagine, would like to see hired, even though LeBron is kind of distancing himself from the hire itself. The hope is that that immediate buy-in can actually get spread further across the rest of his tenure, so that there isn't such an immediate drop off. Because, like the first time, the Lakers didn't hire Tyronn Lue and eventually hired Frank Vogel, you got the buy-in for Frank Vogel in the immediacy of his hiring, but then it dwindled off basically as soon as everybody realized that he wasn't going to be able to make Russell Westbrook work. That wasn't to any fault of his own. Nobody was going to be able to make Russell Westbrook work at $47 million a year on that book, and given the supporting staff on that team. But it's easier for the players to blame him. And if you don't have the immediate buy-in that, say, JJ Redick might have this time around, the coach's voice becomes, I don't know how many of you guys are actually old enough to remember Charlie Brown, but the wah-wah, like the less buy-in that a team has to their coach on the front end, the quicker that coach's voice turns into the wah-wah-wah-wahs on the back end. And hopefully here with JJ Redick, you'll have a little bit more buy-in on the front end, and there's no way to avoid the want ones all in their entirety. Eventually players just get sick of coaches, and that's where organizations make choices between players and coaches. Or if the superstar just likes a coach enough, you ride that superstar coach pairing, and you see how far you can take it. But hopefully here with JJ, because of his relationship with LeBron James, and because of LeBron James's relationship with Anthony Davis, and maybe, just maybe, if the Lakers were also able to hire James Borrego, that combination of those four people can lead to not just the immediate buy-in, but very importantly, the continued productivity of the communication between coach and player, and coach and superstar, and coach and team. The next question here comes from Ahmed 6127. Hey, Anthony, an idea similar to Harrison's tank the play-in to avoid the Nuggets. It would benefit the Lakers for the Celtics to win number 18 this year. As much as I'd hate it, I'm very tempted to just stop reading here, because there's no world in which I am rooting for the Celtics to win this series. But the Lakers org is so unstable and mediocre that reportedly cheap Genie having a fire under her to catch the Celtics helps her stay motivated to keep trying to win titles and spend money. I've lived my whole life with the Celtics having more rings than the Lakers, yet enjoyed watching 6 Lakers titles and amazing fandom. What are your thoughts? So I think there's something to, the Lakers had to do so much to catch up to all of those fake Celtics championships from back before the NBA let black players play. that like, it's like I think of like Phil Jackson used to say this about games that his team would get down early in, that if you don't take the lead in that first opportunity that you have to take the lead, far more often than not, you're going to lose that game. And the reason there's this like psychological bump to actually clearing that hill and getting to ride that momentum down the hill. Whereas the opposite of that is true, where if you don't take a lead in that first opportunity and you get punched right back in the mouth and you have to call a timeout, yeah, sometimes a team will show real resolve and give themselves another opportunity to take the lead again. But also very, very often that last punch is basically all it takes to take the rest of your will for that, especially like a regular season game. And the team will just kind of say like, "Ugh." And in that time that team spends going, oh, that's where the game slips away. And now you have to, find that energy to climb back up that hill and hope that this time you get over the top, and so on and so forth. And I feel like here with the Lakers, they have done so much climbing for so long to even tie the Celtics, that if the Celtics regain that lead, or punch back or whatever by winning 18 before the Lakers do, that you'll get that and especially given the way that like we've seen the Lakers operate, they aren't very serious right now. And I need to see that they are that kind of serious to where if they do get punched back in the face, you do see that resolve and you do see that fire lit under their ass. But more importantly than even all of that, what more fire could you possibly need than having the possibility of leapfrogging him? That's why like when the Lakers opted out of paying Alex Caruso that luxury tax money, when they had the opportunity to leapfrog the Celtics, to finally pass them and be the NBA's leader in all-time championships, that right there was like, we talk about basketball gods, we talk about getting punished by the basketball gods. Frankly, the amount of mediocrity and the amount of frustration and the thorn in their side that I currently am, that all, frankly, should be the payback that the Lakers deserve for that series of decisions and the decisions that have followed. And for you to like have that opportunity and be right there and just say, yeah, he started for us in a finals clinching game, but whatever. We need those luxury tax dollars. Like, you get what you deserve in that one. So I don't know. I'm not willing to root for the Celtics for the sake of embarrassing the Lakers into operating like a professional organization, partially because I just don't think they're capable of it right now, but also because like I just in no way, shape, or form will I ever, ever, ever root for the Boston Celtics. Like, it just I can't do it. I can't even fathom it. It hurts my throat to like hurts my soul, my heart, to even consider being pro Boston happiness. I should just send this like just one time for the sake of like this honestly should have been my answer to that question. All right. The next one here comes from Lake Show Mockman. Love the show, Anthony. Thank you. You, Aaron, Raj, and Harrison are great. Thanks very much. Writing on 529 pre-coaching hire. Saw a post that JJ had 80 outside of the top 10 all defense and behind Jared Allen and SGA. Think that will be an issue. Also, you're going to hate it, but I'm rooting for the Celtics to get 18. Hopefully that will drive the urgency for LA in 2025. Again, there is one consistent note that you should take from this show. Like there's one consistent theme that like matters above all else. And it's screw ownership. No, it is it's fuck Boston. I can't cough or I can't laugh because I will go into an asthmatic fit, even though I don't even have asthma. But no, really, in all seriousness, while I see the tears in my eyes, while you see water in these hazel eyes, you know, it is always F Boston. Always. Under no circumstance will you ever get a pat on your back for rooting for the Boston Celtics or any Boston team. Man, the Red Sox, the Pats, the Bruins, Boston University, Boston College, any of them, all of those, like that entire state. Like I'm even kind of anti Paul Revere. I'm kidding, but am I? Anyway, so saw a post that JJ had 80 outside of the top 10 all defense and behind Jared Allen and SGA. Think that'll be an issue. It'll make for like a funny, like if it'll come up in the intro presser, I would imagine. Pelinka will probably needle JJ for it and get the laughter from the press conference for it. And it'll make for kind of introductory fodder. It does kind of like Harrison sent me that and I was like, oh man, that's the closest that I was ever like outright against the JJ hire was like, do I want somebody who doesn't know ball to be the head coach of the Lakers? But like what it also tells me though, that vote, and maybe this is spin because again, I'm already coping with the fact that I'm like 99% positive this guy's going to be the coach of the Lakers. But what it tells me is that he puts legitimate thought and enough thought into his votes for those things that he's capable of overthinking it. And that's what this mostly comes down to, you know. And I just think, like, you guys know how I feel about the end of season awards, and especially when it comes to defense. We are so bad at talking about defense. We are so bad at analyzing defense analytically that nobody seems to have any idea what we're watching. And it's very easy to overthink it there. For me and for any Laker fan who watched Anthony Davis somehow support and has had to support some of the worst defensive rosters in the NBA over the last few years or so, we know what AD brings on that side of the ball. Whether or not he wins some stupid award that goes to some guy who year in and year out gets played off of the court in the playoffs, like, we're good here. Like I don't. It's just kind of like how I felt about MVP. Like once Steve Nash racked up as many MVPs by himself as Shaq and Kobe got together, like that's we're good here. Right then in that moment, we should have scrapped the entire award process and gone back to square one and try to figure out how do we arrive there and how can we avoid arriving there again. And you know, we'll see we'll see. Maybe basketball is just so hard to analyze on an individual level that the awards are just always going to be fluky. But as far as like JJ Redick's award vote and his ballot and all of those things, it made me scratch my head too. I'd be curious for his thought process on it, but I think he also recognizes and would very quickly recognize what Anthony Davis brings on that side of the court. All right. I need to cough really, really bad. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is play me laughing at the Clippers for like 5-10 seconds or so, and then I'll come back with my win again.
Welcome everybody to the Locked On Lakers podcast.
Woo! All right, I feel better, and like I feel better having watched that. I just love that clip so much, like legitimately. Harrison, Pete, and I still talk amongst each other about that moment. All right. The next question here comes from Viva Exceptionalism. Hey, Anthony, not my first review, but as always, the best Lakers pot out there. Love it. Keep it up. Love you, man. Thanks very much. I was wondering what you think about Austin Reeves' value is. I continue to hear teams asking for multiple firsts for players, Wendell Carter, Kuz, Dorian Finney-Smith, that I think are no better than, if not as good as, Austin. I see teams getting first for players like PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, who are decent rotation players. Yet when Austin's name comes up, it's always in the context of him, plus not including players to make salaries match, plus multiple firsts. I don't think he's much worse than Murray or Young, for example, that so much more should be added. I'm not in favor of trading Austin at all, but if I did, I wouldn't value him at less than 2 firsts, 1 unprotected, or an unprotected first and a swap or 2. I'd rather do that and fill the cupboard with firsts for a blockbuster trade than sell him at what I perceive to be on the cheap. How do you see this? Thanks. Well, for one thing, even before I get into how I see it, that's how the Lakers see it. Like, they know that every conversation that takes place this summer for upgrading the roster, every team that they talk to is going to ask for Austin first. And for the Lakers, they're going to say, okay, you can get Austin, but that means we aren't including a pick, or we aren't including, all of this extra stuff. And if you were expecting Austin and all that extra stuff, we're walking away from the table. And that's exactly what happened back at the deadline when the Atlanta Hawks and the Lakers were making real headway for a trade. And then Atlanta's ownership basically said, well, wait, we're not getting Austin. And the Lakers said, no, you're not getting Austin. And the Hawks ownership said, well, we don't want Russell. Can you send him somewhere else? And nobody else wanted Russell's contract. Or another version of the story that I've heard since then also is that teams were willing to take on Russell's contract, but that the Lakers didn't want to assign extra draft capital to move D'Angelo Russell's contract and make that whole thing work. So because they didn't see Russell as a negative asset at that time, which, like, in their credit or in their defense, Russell wasn't a negative asset. He was playing very good basketball, and teams were trying to take advantage of the desperation that they saw in the Lakers. And I think, like, to get back to the crux of this question, that's essentially what's going on when you hear about these players' crazy prices. It's not that Kuz, who the Wizards want 2 first rounders for, is 2 first rounders better than Austin Reeves. It's that the Wizards know, because of how many teams are trying to improve, that somebody is going to be willing to pay 2 first rounders for Kyle Kuzma. Same goes for Daniel Gafford. Same goes for Dorian Finney-Smith. That all of these teams are basically gambling on the market. They know that, like, look, let's just, like, think ahead to what next year's standings are going to be like in the Western Conference, or the bottom of them, right? The only team that I could point to and say, okay, that team is for sure tanking, probably Portland, probably, right? But even they have enough talent on their roster to where they're probably going to be, like, fairly competitive in some games. After that, it's like, Like San Antonio is going to be better because of Victor Wembanyama in his second year. The Memphis Grizzlies are going to have Ja Morant back and the rest of that roster back. Houston is going to be better next year. Although Houston does feel like a weird team to kind of fade and see if they take a step back next season. They were really kind of surprising this year and then weren't able to get over that hump. And we'll see what they look like next year. And so on and so forth. Like, there are so many competitive teams in the West by itself, let alone the rest of the East, where we got to see how Boston looks in the finals. And if Boston doesn't look like a juggernaut here, a whole bunch of teams in the East, Milwaukee, Philly, Miami, Chicago, because they're always shooting for the middle. Like, Toronto is going to be better next year. Indiana is going to be better next year. New York is going to be better next year. Like, there are going to be so many teams across the league that are going to be vying for the same handful of players from the same handful of teams that all of these sellers know they can. It's surge prices on Uber, right? That's all that's going on right now. It's like it's exactly where, it's 1:30, you're in college, you're leaving the bar, you're leaving the club, and you look at how much it's going to cost to move 5 feet via Uber, and you're saying like, gosh, should I walk? This sucks. It's going to cost me $50 to go a mile? Do you guys think we could walk a mile? There's a Taco Bell on the way. Yeah? And you decide to walk. Or you pull your money together and everybody decides to hop in an Uber and go through the Taco Bell driveway or drive-through. So, yeah, I all of this is to say that it's not so much that the league considers Austin so much worse than all of the players that we're examining here. It's that there are so few players available from so few teams that those teams know that they can mark those prices up way high to a point where, like, the Lakers decided it's not worth paying. It was a mistake to decide that, but that's what a lot of teams are deciding. All right, that is going to do it here for the iTunes questions. I did ask for some questions on Twitter from earlier today. Apologies also on Twitter, where I said that I was happy to see JJ get paid. I'm a Vikings fan. You guys know this. I have other Vikings fans friends, and we all call Justin Jefferson JJ. We really do. A lot of people in the fan base do. I was happy to see JJ got paid. I tweeted that out. A lot of Lakers fans thought that I meant JJ Redick and were wondering how I knew what he got paid. No, that was a Justin Jefferson tweet. I was really happy that the best wide receiver in football was able to resign. And apologies for the confusion there. But I'm going to go ahead and dive into the questions here that I got. I thought I got. No. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. All right. So first one here comes from, I'm going to go as far back as I can. 4 hours ago, Jordan Phillips wrote, who would be the perfect role player the Lakers can get realistically in a trade this offseason? The perfect role player? The perfect role player. I would probably go because you can't consider no, yeah, I'd probably go with Kuz. I think I would say Kuz. He provides shooting. He has good enough foot speed to be able to keep LeBron at the 4. I think he would be really happy to be back with the Lakers and understands the expectations there. He knows how to function alongside AD and LeBron at a high level. I would probably say Kuz would be the and then right after him, Caruso. Now, I'm biased because I really like that 2019-2020 team, but Kuz, like, yeah, Kuz was so frustrating at times. I understood it. I also shared some of that frustration, but I also thought like he was pretty underrated. As a long, fairly athletic. He had great touch around the basket. He could attack closeouts. Had good instincts on both sides of the ball. And was like never ever ever afraid of the moment. And I especially given what we've learned about the playoffs, like he's a playoff dog, and I would like to see him back on the Lakers this year. And again, as I've been saying, I've heard he would like to be back as well, and the Lakers would like to have him back. Let's dive into the super comments. I've already played. Now, you know what? Just to make sure we're all on the same page on what the tenor of this show and a core principle of the show is, I'm going to play this one more time before I get into the super comments. It feels good. It feels good. It sounds good. Rye Guy writes, why wasn't Boogie ever an option again as a big? There was a report he left a bad taste for Pelinka, but I always wondered why. Gave Dwight 2 shots. Pelinka gave Dwight 2 shots. So Boogie had serious physical ailments, for one thing. Then he had an off-court issue in which I believe he allegedly threatened his the mother of his kid over the phone and left a voicemail that became public that was really ugly too. And then I think that the Lakers saw his physical capabilities and physical limitations, and the rest of the league saw those limitations, and everybody just kind of like moved on. But if not for those physical ailments, I do think eventually maybe Boogie would have gotten another shot. Jason Kelly writes, given that the Lakers don't and won't have a top 5 player, how are they supposed to win? When's the last time a team won without a top 5 guy? Was it the Spurs? I guess Kawhi was pretty close. He was on his way to being a top 5 guy on that Spurs team. And no, it doesn't happen very often. You have like the Detroit Pistons back in the day when they beat the Lakers. You have, there aren't very many instances like that Spurs team comes to mind. And ever since then, it's been like Steph and LeBron. Dirk was top 5. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. And, you have to be really, really special around those players. The Spurs back then, it was like the final hurrah of that trifecta, right? That big 3 of Duncan, Manu, and Parker. And then you had Pop, who was coaching out of his mind against a Miami team that, was very top heavy. You had that Detroit Pistons team that beat the Lakers when Malone got hurt, and Shaq and Kobe hated each other, and it was a disaster on the Lakers side of things there. And that Detroit Pistons team had one of the best starting 5s ever, right? We had Chauncey and Rip and Tayshaun and Rashid and Ben. So that collective talent was just insane. I remember they won the championship, and I think Scottie Pippen was already saying after they won that championship that the Pistons were going to win 73 games the following year. It doesn't happen very often, and it requires some funny stuff on the other side of on the other side of things, and it requires an absolutely special supporting cast. But I would say though that this CBA is history altering. Like I'm not exaggerating when I say that the way that we think about basketball may very well have been altered by the way that this new CBA was written up, where parity is the law of the land from here on out, and those margins are going to be just absolutely airtight. And even those teams that have the top 5 type player, yeah, they're going to have the inherent advantage because of who that player is. But as you're seeing here in like the league right now, the team that the Mavericks are facing in the finals, the Celtics don't have a top 5 guy. Jason Tatum isn't in the top 5 for me. Jaylen Brown isn't in the top 5, obviously, and so on and so forth. So if the Celtics win, they would be the latest team to win a championship without a top 5 guy, even though Tatum is close. And I think the lesson that I'm taking from this year is just give your guys a chance, and then it's all about matchups in the postseason. And if you get the right series of matchups and you take advantage of those matchups, you can go on a run that leads you to a championship. And who better to go on that kind of a run with than LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who continue to prove, unless you're playing the Denver Nuggets and they're completely outmatched. Oh, my mom is calling me because I need to talk to my dad for FaceTime. Unless the Lakers play the Denver Nuggets, over the last couple of years, LeBron and AD are very, very good in the playoffs. So, yeah, I would say that, the Lakers are certainly up against a daunting task, but it is very much the kind of thing that you can do in a league that is legislating parity. Next one here comes from Lane, who writes, in the 30 to 35% chance the Lakers take Bronny with the 17th pick, will this end up being an all-time Anthony Irwin Pelinka is an idiot rank next year? Or where will this, will it make him an idiot? I don't know if I would call him an idiot. I would just say that the Lakers would not be serious. Like it would be a real blow to use the 17th pick twice in a row with the Lakers scouting department being the best thing that the Lakers have to offer organizationally, and twice using it on 2 combo guards who weren't going to help you in that year. And JHS might not even help the Lakers next year. So, yeah, that would be a real blow. It would. I don't even know that I would probably get really angry. I would probably go on a rant, and I would probably, make it known that was a really stupid thing to do. But that would be a statement about the entire organization. I think that would be Pelinka taking Bronny to appease Bron, or at least appear to be appeasing Bron, and again allow LeBron to take the heat for that draft pick. I think it would signal that the Lakers are again too infatuated with the story rather than the productivity needed to go out and win at the level that we expect them to. It would be really brutal. And even more importantly than like Bronny specifically, who again I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for Bronny to figure this out. I'm not one of these people who are like anti Bronny because of who his dad is. I am simply a person who covers the Lakers and a Lakers fan who understands that the Lakers have this very, very finite window to win this championship. And a player who averaged a single last year doesn't help you in that window. And taking him right now would be a giant mistake. I don't know why I said it. A giant mistake. Lane, again, do you plan on hate watching the Clippers TV show? Hate watching? I'm going to watch that thing. That was a hilarious series of circumstances there. I can't wait to watch all of it. I hope that I was really bummed to see Lawrence Fishburne didn't even really seem to attempt the Doc voice. That would have been a source of hilarity. I want to see how thoroughly they lambast everybody involved there. Specifically Donald Sterling, who was one of the most loathsome characters in the history of professional sports. Can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see how they rip Shelley Sterling, who was somehow able to like sidestep all of the racism allegations that were being, correctly hurled at Donald when Shelley was just as bad with their rental properties back in the day. No, I'm in that thing. Like, I cannot see. You got me going again. I cannot wait for that show though. I cannot wait, Lane. Right. Does LA have enough for Lauri? Can unprotect the 27 pick that the Lakers already owe them? That is something that they could put on the table. Do they have enough? As it stands right now, I would probably say no, because I don't know how interested Pelinka would be in trading everything for Lauri Markkanen. Like, if like Lauri Markkanen is not Donovan Mitchell, and in terms of like gravitas and cachet around the league. So I don't necessarily think that is the kind of guy that Pelinka would go all in for. Nor, by the way, would I, because I don't know how often Lauri would close games. And like the problem with Lauri is that, all right, so you're trading him to theoretically move AD back to the 4 and have that front court of LeBron, AD, and Lauri. Well, then that means that LeBron is going to be chasing threes, and AD will still be doing a lot of the rim protection stuff that you're expecting out of your 5. So I like Lauri. I like the idea of him. I don't like the amount that it's going to cost to get Lauri Markkanen, and I just think that those resources can and likely will be best used elsewhere. At in All right, so the name is just Boo. Have there been any discussions about beefing up the medical/training staff? Those things get discussed, I believe, after the year, after the calendar NBA season, which I think Eric Pincus said resets on July 1. So that is the kind of thing that the Lakers would discuss more heavily and more thoroughly at that time, and then figure out the contract situation from there. Let's see. George Santiago, how are the Lakers conducting draft workouts while there's no main coaching staff in place? Is it Bill Burka leading it for now? Yeah, I mean, like it's the same scouting department that we have grown to trust, running all of those things. It would be nice to have a coach in place, because then you could, kind of tailor the personnel that you're interested in towards the vision that head coach has for the team. But that's not in the cards right now, unless the Lakers are having some, like, I guess the one technical nice thing about JJ Redick is that because he doesn't currently work for an NBA team, you can have some of these conversations and not tamper and not get caught tampering. The Lakers, could continue to have interview after interview after interview, and eventually those interviews just become conversations, and you don't have to you wouldn't get yourself into trouble with those conversations. And so I'm not saying that is for sure happening or for sure isn't. It's just that is less is considered a little less illegal than it would be if JJ was like currently on a finals coaching staff, heading into the biggest series of that team's season. But yeah, this type of thing happens all the time in the NBA. It's something that all teams are equipped for, and specifically the Lakers here, because their coaching staff is so well regarded and so well respected. This is something that even I'm not like all that concerned about. All right, Frank Golden. Now that the Lakers season is over and LeBron averaged way over 30 minutes a game for the season, can we revisit why he played only 28 minutes in the opener against Denver? Well, Darvin had ideas on how the season was going to go. And then he very quickly was told that's not how the season is going to go. LeBron has said that he would much rather be out on the court and pace himself out on the court than try to kind of quick burst his way through a shorter, fewer minutes. And it kind of makes sense where if you think about like how hard a player who plays, say, 20 minutes a night is expected to play, do you want LeBron playing that hard for even those few minutes per game? Especially if he's going to play that hard and then he's going to sit for a while and then he's going to play that hard and he's going to sit for a while. That just feels like asking, and I'm not an expert on these things. I am an expert on being old, though. And the hardest thing to do at my age is to be doing something, to stop doing that thing, and then be expected to go back and do that thing. Like over the weekend, I was doing the lawn, and then the guy showed up who was going to work on our sprinklers, and I had to stop what I was doing there with the lawn, stand around, and try to help him work on the sprinklers, and then get back to doing the lawn. And that final third of my lawn, or whatever it was, fourth of my lawn, was just excruciating because it was just like, I gotta get back to it here and all these things. I didn't get hurt. I was a little extra sore just because I was outside and doing a little bit more work all day. But from LeBron's perspective, he knows his body not just better than obviously we do, but I think he has a better understanding of his body, and his team has a better understanding of his body than anybody in the NBA and maybe anybody in the history of professional sports. And so when he says he is more comfortable playing longer minutes and playing at a little bit lower effort rate during those minutes, it kind of makes sense. And I'm going to trust the guy who's doing things that no other player in the history of the sport has been able to do at that age. All right. I am going ahead. I'm going to go ahead and try to. Oh no, we have one more. Brandon Olming writes, would you do Rui, D'Lo, and Gabe Vincent plus picks for Hunter and Murray? I don't think that would be enough for Hunter and Murray. You'd probably have to give up JHS. You would probably have to do pick swaps too. And I guess maybe Atlanta would be happy to get off of Hunter's contract. And I guess Rui has, I think, one fewer year on his contract. It depends on if D'Lo opts in. D'Lo is expiring next year. So maybe that works. I would heavily consider it. And I would maybe, man, that's a lot. I just wish Hunter stayed healthy. But if Hunter stayed healthy, he wouldn't be available. And when he's been available, he's been very good for them. I would heavily consider it, maybe even do it. That would be pretty close. I'm really curious what people would think there. All right. That is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lowdown podcast. 1,000 people watching on a Monday evening in which there's no basketball. You guys are the best. You guys are the absolute best. Please do hit subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast. If you guys are watching live on Twitter right now, please head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to subscribe there. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. That like button helps as well. And until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you tomorrow.